Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, how are you? I'm from Australia. I hope you can understand me. But
I can.
I was just wondering um, about like triggers and stuff like that. I know that stress is a big trigger for me, but then there's also, I've heard and read that there's lots of other triggers out there. But I'm finding it hard to diagnose. Is it dietary or is there
Yeah.
anything that's actually proven?
So it depends. Are you talking about, do you have episodes or attacks of symptoms? Is that what you're talking about in terms of triggers?
Yeah, like
Or
so back in March, just a very in a nutshell overview, back in March I sat in a chair and I went paralyzed. And then in July I had a TIA stroke which set off a lot of symptoms. For a period of time I could only move one finger and
yeah.
communicated from writing words in people's hands.
So
And that's all I
yeah.
could do.
So you've had episodes of really severe acute symptoms. It's a really good question because I think it's entirely natural when that happens that people say, well, okay, if only I could work out what the triggers are, then it won't happen again. And you don't want it to happen again, basically. How can you stop it from happening again, or when you're trying to get better in between? And the problem with that is that this FND is often really unpredictable. It's often really random, and there isn't necessarily a reason why it happened at that moment. For some people, yes, they notice that they've been very stressed, and then they have an FND problem. That definitely happens. I have probably more patients who develop acute episodes of FND in situations where they're really doing very little. They're just sitting quietly, perhaps feeling a bit run down, and it's almost as if they're more likely to dissociate when they're not doing anything compared to being busy or stressed. And for other people, that you cannot find a particular reason for it. So I think if you were, I would advise not looking too hard for those triggers, because it could be a very frustrating exercise, but focusing a bit more on what am I going to do when I start to develop these symptoms, when I start to get the paralysis. Some people it just happens all at once, but for some people it sort of builds up. They feel very disappointed, they feel frightened. Can you do something about those feelings of disappointment and fear at the moment it begins? I would say not easy, but I think that patients tell me that looking at those things has helped reduce the severity of their relapses. If they kind of half expect they might happen and then think, well, what am I going to do when it happens?